All right, guys. So today I'm going to explain how nihilism and atheism, they're actually very close to Islam. Now you might be like, wait, how's that even possible? Because nihilists, they believe in nothing. You know, atheists, they believe in nothing. That's pretty much like the definition of it, right? They really just don't believe in anything. And nothing in this world really matters. And this is actually very close to Islam because this ties to the concept of detachment of the dunya, right? So what Islam gets, yeah, it's very similar in the aspect that nihilism, they believe in nothing. They believe that this world doesn't really matter, and Islam does have that same concept, but there's a twist, right? It's detachment of the dunya, which is detachment of the world, right? Detachment of all these worldly desires, and that everything in this world doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's very limited and fleeting. Like this life is very temporary, and this life doesn't amount to anything. That is true. Those are the similarities of atheism and Islam. The only difference is we attach ourselves to a higher power. So it's basically detachment of the dunya, right? Detachment of materialistic things, detachment of the worldly desires, and attachment to God, attachment to the singular higher power that governs this entire universe. So, atheists, they're actually very close to Islam, but they're just missing one step, and that is attachment to God. That's the one thing they're missing. They're missing their attachment. They're missing they're missing the key. Like they're super close, because it is true that this world really doesn't amount to anything. This world is very limited, and anything you do in this world, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really amount to anything, and that is very similar to the concept in Islam of detachment of dunya, but it's very close in the aspect that all they need to do is attach themselves to God. That's what it is, and I think nihilists, they're not actually truly nihilists. Like if you talk to most atheists, right, they would probably agree that killing is wrong, right? Hurting people is wrong. Genocide is wrong. If you talk to an atheist, right, that's genuinely a good person, but just an atheist and believes in nothing and doesn't believe in God and just believes that, oh no, this world is just the way it is. They don't realize that the reason why they think killing is bad is not because of the parents. Like your parents don't have to tell you that killing and genocide is bad. You could have a baby that grew up on an island by himself, and this baby would intrinsically understand that killing, blood, and genocide is inherently bad, okay? And there's a certain moral compass that God has bestowed in each of us. Okay, every human has a moral compass. See, there are certain morals that we can't cross, right? Or that there's certain morals that every human has had since they were born, but as they grew up, these things kind of got distorted, right? And one fundamental moral that every human does have, for most people on earth today, is killing is bad. Don't harm other people, right? That's an example of, that is one common example of, it doesn't matter what religion you're in, or if you're an atheist or if you're a nihilist, like every human would agree that genocide is bad. Okay? I'm just saying. That's our moral compass that God has given us. What these atheists don't understand is that God has given them these moral compasses. Every human has a moral compass. But where did this moral compass come from? That's what you guys need to understand. When it comes to, if you really truly believe in nothing, then literally killing a child and pulling the trigger and killing a child would mean nothing to you. It would be even as scary as whether you pull the trigger or not would not even affect your emotions. That's how far nihilism is, right? Because like I said, if this world really amounted to nothing, if nothing really mattered in this world, then what's stopping you from committing genocide, right? You pulling the trigger to commit genocide or not, if you're truly a nihilist, if you're truly an atheist, you wouldn't feel anything. But of course, you feel stuff. You feel stuff. Like when you kill someone, you feel it. You're just genuinely like a disgusting feeling you feel if you were to do that. Why? Have you ever questioned that? Have you ever questioned why it's bad to kill people? And it's not because of your parents. Don't tell me it's because of your parents. Because I guarantee you, if you grew up in an atheistic household like I did, where we didn't believe in any religion, we all would also arrive at the same values and morals. Why? It's because killing is intrinsically a moral compass. Like, God instilled in us, in every human, that killing is a bad thing to do. Harming others, committing genocide, being nice to people are fundamental morals that God has bestowed in every human. And, the criminals that do the most heinous acts, they've had this moral compass, but they've just been distorted for so long, and they've gone off far from the straight path, right? What is that straight path? The straight path is God. There's only one path in this entire world, in this entire life, to live by, and that is the path of God, right? Islam is submission under one God. That's what it is, the straight path. What is that? What does it look like? Not killing people, being nice to people, doing all these great things, right? These are fundamental morals that every human has, and every human intrinsically understands. But what most people fail to understand is these things are coming from God. These things come from God. Like, don't you find it weird that, like, every human has the same moral compass of killing and harming others is bad? Like, did you guys ever question that? Because if you're truly an atheist, whether you kill a child or not doesn't matter. Like, you wouldn't even feel anything, because, like I said, you really believe in nothing, right? If you believe in nothing, then whether you kill a child or not shouldn't mean anything. But no, killing that child does mean something in Islam, because that's you rebelling against God. Because God has set moral standards for you already, right, in you before, like, you were born. You see? So atheism, they're actually very close to Islam, because they've already detached themselves from the world. They've already detached themselves from, like, the meaning of life and everything that this world has to offer, because this world and this life doesn't have anything else much to offer, because it's very limited and fleeting. The only thing that we should be worried about is God, right? Attaching ourselves to the infinite, to the everlasting, to the infinite, the most merciful. The singular higher power, the singular point that governs everything in this universe. That is what truly matters in life. And I think a lot of atheists, they're very close to Islam. They're very close to that, but they're kind of lacking in the aspect that they don't understand where they obtain these moral compasses. I'm sure, like, most atheists I talk to, they're genuinely good people, which means that they don't harm others. They're nice to people. Like, well, who gave you that? Like, what's preventing you from just, like, committing genocide? There's a reason. It's the moral compass that God has given you, And this is something that you guys need to understand. Is that these moral compasses that you do have, there's this feeling of killing another person, this is Islam. What you're feeling is Islam, okay? You might be like, wait, well, how does that relate to Islam? You guys don't understand. Like, how come when I kill a child and I feel bad, how come that is Islam? The reason why that's Islam is because God has given you that moral compass, has given you that feeling. God has allowed you to feel that feeling as a human. Because, like I said, God, the moral compass in each human is constant within birth, right? Because God gives each of us a moral compass to live by, right? Now, whether you are Muslim or not, it doesn't matter, because you are still tied down to the same religion, which is God, right? So it doesn't matter if you're an atheist or not, but you still have these moral compasses, regardless of not killing people, of not hurting people. So, that's the thing. That's the truly flawed philosophy I discovered with atheism and nihilism, is that, yes, this world really doesn't amount to anything, but there are still certain moral boundaries that we must set, right? And these moral boundaries have and will continue to be determined by God. And that's what most atheists don't understand, is that they don't understand where they're obtaining this moral compass from, But ultimately, this moral compass that we do have, which is our natural fitra, it's our natural instinct, it was given to us by God, right? And this is the singular truth that every human has, right? To not harm people, to be nice to people. These are fundamental truths about humans, that God has bestowed upon us. And this is why Islam is the truth. See, you eventually arrive at Islam eventually, but it's just a matter of time. You know what I mean? So that's the thing, guys. Really, this dunya, this world, it really is limited and fleeting. It has nothing to offer, but what we do attach ourselves to is to God. Because I feel like believing in nothing, it's pretty depressing, right? And it's not really a solution either. Because it's like, okay, if you really believe in nothing, then it's like, what's going to prevent you from committing genocide? Like I said, Islam is going to prevent you from committing genocide. Why? Because God has given you that moral compass to stop doing that. So although we should detach ourselves from the world in terms of the materialistic worldly desires, and that life really has nothing to offer, but there are still certain things that we shouldn't do in this world. There's certain things that we shouldn't do morally, like killing people, hurting people. These are things that we shouldn't do morally. Even though we should be detached from the world and not really care about it, there are certain moral boundaries we must have as humans. And those moral boundaries are constant within every human, like I said, because they're given to us by God. You know, you did not decide to be born. Like, you didn't just deliberately, yeah, you know what, I'm going to be born today. No, you did not decide. You just happened to be born, right? And then now you're like a baby and you're trying to figure out the world, right? And this is who you are today now, okay? Like, you don't realize that your entire life has been predetermined by God. Like, you don't realize that your life has literally been not controlled by you, but by God. That's what you don't understand, guys. You know, you guys are missing the link between that higher power giving you this moral compass, is giving everything you have in your life. Everything you have in your life is given to you by God. You just don't see that. You don't see that yet, right? But once you can see that, then you can attach yourself to the infinite, to the everlasting, right? And then that's when all the anxiety and the relief will go away, you know? So Islam and nihilism, it's very similar, but the only difference is that Islam takes a step further and attaches himself to God, right? Because if you're to just detach yourself from the dunya, it'll be pretty depressing, because it's like, then what does this life really have to offer, right? But when you can attach yourself to the hereafter, when you can attach yourself to God, then you have a certain level of hope, and you also have an explanation as to why you have all these moral boundaries, as to why killing people is bad, why all this is bad. You don't understand, bro. Your parents did not give you this. Your parents did not teach you that killing is bad. You would have arrived at these conclusions regardless if they were taught to you by parents. Your parents had nothing to do with your moral compass. Your parents had nothing to do with it. These are things given to you by God. You could have been stranded on an island, grew up with animals, and you would have arrived at those same conclusions, as to not harm people, to be nice to people. Because this is in our natural fitra. This is in our natural instinct as humans, to not do harm to others. This is a moral compass that every human holds, regardless of the religion, right? But most people fail to understand that these moral compasses come from what? A singular higher power. They're given to us by God. So that's the only difference. Islam just takes a step further to explain where all these things come from, and also attach ourselves to God. Because, yeah, so, you know, that's really the only difference. You know, nihilism, Islam, very similar. It's just that Islam takes that extra step further.